While the news was very good overall, not just nationally, but here in Southern California, perhaps the biggest issue to face industrial in the fourth quarter of last year into the first quarter of this year was the ports slowdown on the West Coast. And the ports slowdown certainly caused many tenants to rethink their national strategy, perhaps diversifying some of their locations to the East Coast. What were some of the ramifications that you saw of the port situation here on the West Coast?
The port issues along the West Coast, it affected, there's 29 ports along the West Coast that service America, and that was a really big issue. And I sometimes think that, we continuously stub our foot on these labor issues, and it created a lot of chaos, and especially for in all different sectors when you think about it, whether if it's agricultural, because of the Central Valley with all the perishable goods, to retailers, to across the board. And so the best example I can give you is that typically we have maybe 3, 4, 5 ships waiting to come into dock to offload their containers. At one point we were up to 30 ships, 30 to 35 big ships outside the ports waiting to get in. And there is a lot of goods, a lot of money that's affected. And at a certain point, certainly users have to understand, is it a better method to diversify their port of entry? And in the short term, at least from the results we have, certainly the East Coast ports are benefiting. Long term, it's my personal opinion that corporate America typically reverts to the most efficient and least costly method to transport their goods to the end user. And so when you go through all the facts, the West Coast ports, specifically Southern California, is the fastest and most efficient and least costly method to transport those goods to the end user. And that goes all the way, not just the West Coast and serving the Southern California markets or Northern California markets, but all the way back east. And we did a white paper roughly 6 or 9 months ago, and we analyzed the point of indifference from a cost standpoint. And we came up with about 250 miles from the Atlantic coast was the artificial line where we thought it was more efficient and least costly to use West Coast ports. So short term, it's going to affect us. Long term, we're hoping that these people come back to the West Coast ports.
Mm-hmm.